Morning, boys and girls. Here we are, 7th of August. Wow, this year is whipping away. But are the charts whipping away? Well, we're going to have a quick look at the strongest and the weakest currencies, see if you can pick one out for a basket, and also check the economic news, see what times you need to be aware of, and things that you will, well, let's just say, cause the market to shake up a little bit. Now, I do this every morning for the squad, so any member gets to see this straight away, and if you're public, you get to see it later in the day. So if you want to be in the moment, check it out. Okay, let's have a quick look. So we start with the movers and the shakers. The biggest gain was the JPY last night, followed by a big drop on the Aussie. Now, this hasn't shook the market that much just yet, but it has changed the dynamics because yesterday it was incredibly flat. Now, today it's starting to pull out, but for me to trade, it's made it very difficult because there isn't anything in the market picks. Now, the market pick, what that does is it looks at the very strongest currency and then it tries to put it with the weakest one. Now, the weakest ones are graded 1 through 3, so 1 being the weakest. So the Swissy is the weakest currency going. So you can see that here, okay? So I don't trade the Swissy. And I try to pair these against each other to a degree. But they're all strong. But does it bother me today? No, because it's Friday. It's my day off. I don't condone trading on a Friday. Friday, historically, is a terrible day for me. And if you do any reading on economics, you'll find that it is a terrible day for retail traders. And if you're trading past 12 o'clock on a Friday, well, you're not trading, you're gambling, period. And I've got little time for that. So, what else is happening? Well, if we look at the markets that move naturally, which are the majors, you've got the US Swissy. Well, I don't trade the Swissy at all, so it dilutes that. And then you've got the Aussie US. Both of them are pretty good contenders. I don't trade either of them, so it's not a big thing for me. But they are the best of the bunch, which takes us into the strength and the meat and bones. So the pound is clearly the strongest contender. Now, if you're a pound US trader, you could probably find it's difficult because both the pound and the US are gaining strength at the same time. So it'll be a little bit flat. You know, it'll be a bit difficult to gauge your entries today. Now, even on the change of strength, the pound and the US are both rocketing forward. So again, probably Monday when that settles itself down. Now, if you're to pitch that against the JPY, again, they're both going in the same direction. So they are very, very compressed. So that writes all of that off. Then you've got Euro, which is sitting in the middle, but the Euro is moving in the opposite direction to the dollar, but it's starting to gather pace. So again, it'll compress and it'll become very, very difficult. And then if you're left with the US JPY, which is my next one, it's the same story. So today is going to be a real dicey day. And how do you beat that? You don't. You just leave it alone. Now, if you're looking for indices trading, well, the FTSE is probably the one to keep half an eye on. And it's just a rule of thumb. Strongest currency, pitch it against the indices, because just from a seesaw point of view, if that's strong, it's going to affect what's happening in the indices. So that means the FTSE will be moving. Okay, so strength-wise, slim pickings today. If I had to pick a market when I'm going into sort of trade, it'll be euro dollar, simply because it is my go-to. It's safe and steady, and it does have separation when these two don't. Okay, that's it. That's the only reason I would trade it. Now, from here, if we look at the economic calendar, I'll put them on so you can see the low-level stuff. There's quite a lot of low-level today, but it doesn't do anything to the market, so we'll get that out the way. Then look for CPI and PMI. and see if there's any of them. Well, there isn't any of them, so we can take the medium off, and what we're left with is red letter. Now, red letter news will move the market. It won't necessarily turn it, but it'll definitely spike it. And the ones that you need to be careful of is certainly 130 today. So this morning, doesn't really matter. It's currently sort of 20 past 7, something like that. This is what's going to be the kicker. Okay? It's going to run from non-farm payroll, and then once you've hit that, it'll shake the market up this afternoon. You go straight into Canadian PMI. But non-farm payroll will move the market radically. Now, if all those markets are compressed, which we've just seen in the strengths, what's going to happen is there's going to be a massive breakout. Okay? So for me, I'm taking the day off. Don't take it on. It's that simple. So have yourselves a great weekend. Speak to you all on Monday.